legends, I hope you've all been fantastic. This is the FM3 Mark II Turbo from Fractal Audio. Much like the FM9 Turbo to the standard FM9, this increases the CPU usage by around 10%. It's actually more like 11.11%, but who's keeping count? There's the new larger scribble strips from the current generation of FC controllers. What I want to do on this is just load in my main live preset, which I did a video with a couple of months ago. We'll see how it runs on the FM3 Turbo, and then I'm going to build a rock rig from scratch, and we'll see just how much we can squeeze out of this unit. If you want to know more information about the specs or how to order one of these, I'll put that in the video description. Let's test straight into it. I did a video a couple of months ago now entitled 3 years with the FM3, where I broke down the main live preset that I use with Ragdoll in detail. I went into depth with the tips and tricks that I was using to maximize the power of the FM3 in there. I got pretty close to maxing out the CPU on that preset though. I'll link the video in the video description. I've just loaded up the same preset into the Mark II, and immediately you can see it's running around 73, 74%. So you are getting that 10 to 11 points of CPU spare, which is really, really nice. I'll play you the first two scenes on this preset. It is just pure filth. Basically, the USA lead mid-gain amp model, my free LT TV Mix 7 cab IR. I'm even running this as an ultra res IR as opposed to standard res on the standard version of the FM3. Some EQ to kind of tame everything for loud playing live, multi-band compression on there, bit of reverb, and a big greasy pitch detune on there. On the second scene, I'm going to kick in a lovely dual delay as well. The thing that I like about this is not only does it sound great, all of this switches seamlessly. Something that I find really interesting is with the new Dynacabs feature for the FM3. If I bring that up instead of this legacy cab that I'm using on here, the Dynacabs actually use less CPU. And furthermore, if I engage more than one cab slot on there, the CPU essentially doesn't change. So you can go to the cab block, you could bring up the same Dynacab with different mics on it, different Dynacabs, and blend them without having to worry about CPU usage. Now, I kind of do like my own IR when I'm playing live. I've just been using it for quite a long time, and you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I am tempted to dial in a version of this at some point using the Dynacabs just to see how close I can get, because those CPU savings are very nice indeed. So rather than go on about this preset, I'm going to build a hard rock rig from scratch, and we'll see how much we can cram into it. I've been using that USA lead mid-gain amp for a long time live, but I really have been enjoying the Brit 800 mod recently. I grew up playing Marshalls, and this just kind of feels like home. So I've got the Brit 800 mod, again with the same cab IR. I've just set it to standard length on there. Let's just have a listen to the straight up amp and cab tone. What I'm gonna do after this is I'm going to add a reverb and a wah, then some time-based effects, and we'll just go all in on this one and see how much we can get and really push the CPU usage on this. Alrighty, let's add a wah up front. You know, a JCM 800 style thing with a wah and a greenback cab IR. This is gonna do rock and roll just perfectly. I'm gonna go for the Crybaby wah type over here. I like to bring this frequency max down to around 14 or 1500 Hertz, just personal taste. Let's right click the control parameter. I have a Fractal EV1 plugged into pedal number 1 over there, and I like auto engage. Let's go for a medium speed. I'll turn the off value to 95% so that when I'm in the toe down position, the wah is bypassed, kind of like a Crybaby style thing. If you set that to 5%, that's going to be more like your Morley style wah setup. Let's hear that. That is a great sounding wah for rock stuff. Let's go right to the end. Actually, maybe not quite to the end. I might want to put some pitch detune after this, but let's add a reverb in there. I'm going to go for my absolute favorite reverb for shorter reverbs, the London Plate. I'll just turn the mix down to around 12% on that. Let's have a listen to this. The Fractal reverbs are so easy to get dialed in. They add warmth and thickness to your sound without kind of getting in the way or sounding too cartoonish, however you want to describe it. They just sound really natural, and London Plate always hits a spot for me. Okay, let's add the option of having a drive block and then maybe some kind of modulation before the amp and modulation after the amp. So I'm going to drop a single drive block in here. The Clone Chiron is a great all-around boost on there, but I think I kind of like the Griddle Cake the best. It's based on a Crowther Audio Hotcake. Presence down, drive up, level up a bit. This transforms this really strident JCM 800 style amp into something a little smoother and I guess thicker sounding. I like that just to kind of add extra girth to the neck pickup tone on there. Let's bypass that for now. Let's go with a phaser up front, because a phaser with some crunch is always a good idea. We'll drop in the Stripe 90 type because that is just an easy way to get a great phaser tone. Turn the rate down and we get this. Now, I would love some modulation after the amp as well. Let's go with a chorus for this, and the Dimension chorus in here is amazing. I actually had an original Boss DC2 here that I helped measure, and my buddy Nicholas over in Sweden was able to match it bang on there. I've got it saved in my blocks library. You can get my blocks library from the forum for free. There are so many blocks in there matched to real hardware and a bunch of other creative effects as well. But, you know, for extra width on here, the Dimension is hard to beat. On top of all of that, for a lead sound with that drive on there, and I'll leave the chorus on, I would love a delay. So let's just add a delay to this preset. I was talking about my blocks library earlier. The delays have a lot going on there. Let's go for like an EVH style delay on there. So this is going to be about 400 milliseconds on one side, about 800 on the other. I'll kick in this Griddle Cake and we have this glorious lead tone. That is absolutely raging on there. What might be fun over here? Let's move the wah one position over. Let's add a pitch block at the front of the chain, and we will use the virtual capo function on here to polyphonically tune down the guitar. So I'm going to set pitch tracking to smooth for chords. And let's say I want to be able to tune down, say, a whole step. I'm currently in drop D. Most ragdoll songs are in drop C. So if I wanted to play this guitar for some of that, I can just tune this down. I'll let you hear what this does. I'll have it bypassed and then kick it in. Now, I don't always want that on across all my scenes once I set them up. So I'm going to set the scene ignore function on here so that this can be turned on and off across all scenes. Great function on there. And you can see we're under 60% on here for the CPU. So I could go totally wild on here and add like a really big Plex reverb or something like that. I could add something from the Multitap Delay block. In fact, let's go with the Multitap Delay over here. So I'm going to bring up something from my blocks library, which uses the fact we have 4 delay lines in here. I can use 2 of them for like a stereo chorus and another 2 for a big lead delay. I think I've just got it in here as LT lead. Furthermore, in the more section of this block, I've got a bunch of diffusion in there. Now, diffusion is pretty thirsty with CPU. If I turn it all the way off, you can see the CPU is around 70%. But what I like about this is if you don't want to use a reverb block in your preset, let's turn that off. That will decrease the CPU usage. You can crank the diffusion up and your delays will kind of wash out into a reverb style effect. So I think a diffusion is like the delay smearing out. Let's crank that up, bring the mix up on here. We get this. You could just use the factory Aurora delay in here for that Andy Timmons Halo style effect on there. Plenty of room to add my reverb back in here. And I could even extend the grid if I wanted to and add a few more effects. We'll talk about that in a second. Here is the Aurora delay on here, London plate reverb. I will add the griddle cake in front of the Brit 800 mod. We get this. Now, if I was going to do that, I would probably allocate this other delay block to be like a rhythmic style delay. So again, from my blocks library, you can go and say, grab this SDD 3000, like a Korg SDD 3000 style delay in there. And I love the way this works either before an amp or after an amp, just for a rhythmic echo effect. You get this. I talked about extending the grid before. The way you do that, let's take this output block and replace it with a feedback send block. Then down here, I will add a feedback return block. Just be sure with the feedback return to turn the return level all the way up. And we've got some room to add some more blocks and have some fun over here. So let's take that output block, add it back in, extend the grid. I've got a great rhythmic echo. I've got a great wide chorus on there. I'm going to bring the reverb down here. I've got a super lush multi-tap delay over here. Would be nice to have some wobble from like a rotary style speaker or something like that, which I really like the sound of, and I use quite a lot live. So let's add rotary one. I use this a lot of the time just at the stock settings for a few parts live. Sounds like this. A few other fun things to add in here, just because I can. I've got the extra CPU usage. Using the ring modulator with pitch tracking on and the frequency multiplier set to 0.5 will give you an octave down effect. It's got this kind of like funky old school octaver effect. It doesn't track anywhere near as well as the pitch block, but that's kind of the point, because you can do this. I've even got room to add the amazing sounding Plex delay. I've got it set on the Plex Verb preset. I love this with swells, and it works really, really well with the chorus, phaser, and ring modulator as well. Check this out. That demonstrates why I love Fractal units so much, because you can start with just an amp and a cab, maybe a bit of reverb, maybe a bit of delay, and the pure quality of the sound there is so inspiring. But then you can take these presets to places you would never imagine. Like just that combination really reminds me of like a 70s prog thing that you might get out of a synthesizer or something like that. You don't need to have that on everything, you know, amp, cab, reverb, delay will be enough for most people, but using this as a creative tool is something I really value. Having it be super solid and super flexible live, as well as sounding great, is really important as well. And with the addition of extra CPU in there, I feel like it takes the FM3 from being something that is like a stripped down Spartan gigging device to something which is also a stripped down Spartan gigging device with the ability to really have some extra room to have some fun in there. I will be doing lots more videos with this unit in the future, so let me know what you would like to hear or what you'd like me to explore. Be sure to check out all my other Fractal tutorial content on this channel and the G66 channel. I will put up a rig build over on the G66 channel very soon as well. And if you like what I'm doing here on the channel and you want to keep the lights on, you know, keep my cats fed and happy as well, you can sign up to my Patreon or check out some of the music that I make with my band Ragdoll. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time. Cheers. Falling wide awake again, washing me away.